context of white supremacy, Gus T Renegade, and justice, and to share constructive information on racism, white supremacy, what it is, and how it works. Thank everyone for tuning into the broadcast. Again, I hope the programs are of constructive value to the non-white people, victims of white supremacy who listen in. If you do not think the program is of any constructive use to you, please invest your time and energy in something else, whether it's your own project that you're going to be working on or supporting the efforts of someone else who's working to establish justice as soon as possible. Today's program, I think a lot of people had requested that I make an effort to get her on the program. They had been familiar with her work. I think more correctly, the way she was abused and victimized by white people that I suspect are racist white supremacists. She is the creator of both the Matrix franchise and the Terminator franchise. Her work is responsible for both of those impactful films that I think a lot of people have picked out a lot of racism, white supremacy. We'll be able to talk to her about the way she was mistreated, the theft of her work, and her counteraction, because she did not just take this abuse and sit around and complain about it. She is very informed about law. She'll be able to share that, talk about what she has been doing to combat the abuse that has been heaped on her, and just a real pleasure to have her on the program today. Please visit her website. You can get The Third Eye. That is her book. You can pick it up at her website. It is available. You can get the ebook for $24.99. Her website, truthaboutmatrix.com. Again, truthaboutmatrix.com. It's linked in the description for this program. If you are listening at Blog Talk Radio, just click her name, bang, it'll take you right to the website, and you can pick up your copy of The Third Eye. Our guest for today's broadcast with her from the, I know he's done a lot of work with Counter-Racism and Mr. Edward Williams. With her will be Mr. Ed Small and the mother of the Matrix, Sophia Stewart. Are you both with us?
Yes, we are.
Yes, I'm here.
Outstanding. Mr. Small and Ms. Stewart, how are the both of you doing today?
We're doing great. Very pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, I second that. Doing great, and it's a pleasure to be with you here this afternoon.
Right on. Ton of material. I again want to tell folks the website, because I'm sure we will not be able to cover every aspect of what's happened with Sophia Stewart and other views that she wants to share on, so we're going to try and get started to get to as much material as possible. But please go to her website. Again, truthaboutmatrix.com. That way you can read more. She has audio clips there, and you can get the book, The Third Eye. I begin every broadcast by asking whoever the guest or guests are on the program. I have unfortunately concluded that we are in a global system of racism, white supremacy, and the definition that I use for both racism and white supremacy is as follows. A global system of people who classify themselves as white and are dedicated to abusing and or subjugating everyone in the known universe whom they classify as not white. Mr. Small and Ms. Stewart, do you believe that such a system exists, and do you think that definition is accurate?
Well, my belief is that it has everything to do with what God was talking about in the Bible. And I think that a lot of propaganda and confusion is out here to take people away from the real truth. I think it has everything to do with some people being co-creators and some being not any creators of anything, but just straight up thieves. And not only just it's this feeling that goes back in the Bible when Esau and the other one stole the birthright. it all goes back to the beginning of that Bible, that thievery and what the whole problem is. And my work, The Matrix, it outlines that whole theft, that God's children, the co-creators, were human beings with souls. And the other ones were mutated, and they had no creativity and no soul. Because for you to harm another human being or kill them or hurt them or do something despicable, you would have to be a soulless being to do that, because all human beings have empathy and compassion and love, and they can create. They have the number system inside of them. This is my belief. I don't view the world the same way other people view it, and when you look at The Matrix and Terminator, which I wrote, I guess a lot of people can see my viewpoint in my whole thing of consciousness and shifting the consciousness so we can erase the ignorance and eradicate a lot of ignorance, because that's the problem. Ignorance is not a bad word, it's just a lack of knowledge. People don't know what's really going on. And as long as you say ignorance, it's going to always oppress and suppress people and keep them from doing what they should be doing. And like the Bible says, that the truth is the only thing that can free you, because truth gives, it prepares a person with knowledge so they can overcome all adversity, that they can excel and go on to be great in whatever they do, because like I said, the human beings have that extra gift inside of them, that soul, that creativity that can make them soar beyond anything. They have the knowledge of God. They know what God knows, and they are co-creators with God. So they're going to always build and create and make money no matter what. They're always going to be successful. And people who don't have that inside of them is always going to hate those people who have, the have-nots. And that's my whole premises. If you really want to know what my point of view is, what's going on.
Mr. Small?
Well, I will certainly say that I don't disagree with anything Ms. Stewart says, not one bit. But for myself, I will admit that, yes, there are systems running in the world. There are programs running in the world. And this is very much what the Matrix points out. But it also points out, and this is something that I'd like to add too, is that the Matrix is a reality, but it is an illusion at the same time.
And that's polarity. And I just want to say, while you're saying that, point out to people that's polarity, meaning it's one. But go ahead.
Right. So you certainly have obstacles, and I don't believe there's any such thing as utopia. I don't think utopia would ever exist. I believe that there are natural challenges in life, and it's our duty to rise to those challenges and deal with them accordingly. Now, in terms of dealing with what are illusions, or like the Matrix shows, misrepresentation of facts, and this is what Ms. Stewart's case points out. So, is that when people put forth an illusion is what you call in legal language a fraud. Now, the whole power in an illusion isn't in the illusion itself. The power is in people's belief in the illusion. Because when you step into a court, and Fuller talks a lot about court, when you step into a court and you are dealing in a matter of fraud, it's imperative that you point out to the judge what is a fraud and what is a fact. Because if you don't, you will be knowingly or unknowingly consenting to the fraud yourself. So you have to watch what you say is supreme. I've learned a lot from Mr. Fuller. I'm very familiar with what he says. But I'm aware that he made a starting point that we're all supposed to go to. Now, I'm saying this thing that you call in this system as supreme is not, because if somebody was supreme over you, they wouldn't have to lie. They would
Exactly.
do it. Now, see, you guys need to understand this. This is what I'm saying, because I came up on Fuller. I know what he said. But when you walk into a court and somebody put forth fraud, like James Cameron has copyrights, they're fraudulent. So he cannot walk into a court and mount a defense based upon evidence that's fraud. And he can't do that because Ms. Stewart is aware of what the fraud is and can point it out. And once you do that, now I'm not talking about the war in Iraq. I'm not talking about the IMF in Greece. I'm talking about people with the ability to point out the willful misrepresentation of facts in your own life and turning them around, because this is what this is about. And the truth of the matter is they never had anything, and I'll let Ms. Stewart talk.
No, I mean, I want to tell people they've been brought up on a lot of brainwashing and ignorance. And when my work, The Matrix and Terminator, came out, and Sarah Connor is Neo's mother, because Neo is just an anagram or a sneaky way of calling him the One, N-E-O-O-N-E, one and the same. JC, John Connors, Jesus Christ equals to Neo, one and the same. That when my work came out, it shifted the consciousness of the whole global world in every race, color, and creed. This epic story, which is two giant billion-dollar franchise, Matrix and Terminator, which is one epic story. It's one. It's like polarity almost, but it's one. Shifted the consciousness and made change. And it wasn't in all these different languages. But it was in a language, a universal language, and that universal language is the language of God. And what is the universal language of God but numbers? When you go in the Bible, the Da Vinci codes, the encryptions, the numbers, the Bible is like a computer, the greatest technology ever invented. But all encoded, encrypted with all these messages and all these programs, that no matter how many times you go in the book and read it, you're going to find something new, something different, something wonderful. And all of these self-help positive books that Napoleon Hill wrote, and Dale Carnegie and Anthony Robbins and Vincent Peale, all of these people were based on the Bible. And a lot of people don't even understand that. A lot of business and success is based on this book. And this book is in numbers. And to encode, to decode the numbers, you would have to have the gift of mathematics. And that is what makes a person superior, is having knowledge. And what makes a person like in life or be oppressed is the lack of knowledge, not having knowledge, the lack of knowledge. Because if you had knowledge, it would free you, and then you could go on and use your gift, and you could deal, and you could create. And the people who are going against you, this is where the polarity comes in. That's why I teach is polarity. There is no duality. There is no two things happening here. There is no devil versus God, because there is no devil equal to God. There can only be one, and that's good, and that's God. And when you reverse everything, just like live, L-I-V-E, you're going forward, you're living, you're doing great. And then if you go backwards, it's E-V-I-L, it's the same word, evil. Or electricity, when you cut on your electric and you cook your food, it's the same electric that will burn up your food. It's not two separate things going on. You can't cut one in half and take it out and leave the good one. There are no dualities. If people believe in duality, believe in two, then you're going to get the equation wrong. You're not going to be able to understand anything that's going on in the world, period, because it all adds up to one. That's right. If you start out in one spot, you're going to end up back in that spot, 360 degrees, which adds up to a 9. Just like the 1 is the alpha, and the 10, which it is no 10, that's 1, 0, is the omega. Meaning it's 1 plus 0 equals back to 1, meaning you go right back to the 1 after the 9. It all goes back to the 1. That everything is a complete cycle or a complete circle. That if you look at the spirals on the top of your head, that everything is spiraling, even the clock, everything is spiraling. Look at the tornadoes, look at the hurricanes, look at the eggs, look at everything. Look at the world. Everything is a circle or a cycle. Look at winter, summer, spring, and fall. It's all going back to the one, spring again. So I'm pointing all this out to people because I want people to start looking at things a lot different. Look at what really is your enemy is ignorance. That's really your enemy. Because anybody, no matter what color, creed, race, nationality, this man has created these words, labels, and VIPs and kings. Because we're all one and the same, because when you take our brains out and you take our blood, we're all bleeding and we all got the brains. The only difference is that one of us or some of us are human beings and some of us are machines. And machines are, that's what I just told you, someone who does not have creativity inside of them, so they have to steal it, lie and steal a person's identity, steal a person's birthright, steal a person's house, his wife, or whatever. He's a thief. The Bible explains it to you, that people will covet it, and they will steal, and they will lie. And these people are colorless. But it's got to be something that makes them all the same, no matter what label has created and put upon them, because I assure you that race, color, creed, nationality, disability, and sex, and all these words and labels and VIPs and kings don't really exist. It is a program that man who owns the media has instilled in all of us. And it teaches you ignorance, and it oppresses you, and it keeps you from being free to move forward. It doesn't help your spirituality out. You didn't come here to pursue money. You didn't come here to be the king of the world or to be the greatest, richest person in the world or to be over someone or someone underneath your feet or someone above you. Because there are no VIPs over you, and there are nobody that's poorer than you that's underneath you. All of this poverty and classes and colors and races and nationalities and all this other illusions and lies and programs is a bunch of crap to keep you from seeing the truth is, if you look in the Bible and you see the first coming and you didn't get it, then you should get it from the second coming, because what the whole message was that the energy would come to the earth and clothed in flesh, and it would walk upon the earth, the path of Neo, second coming, spoke about in Revelation. That he would come upon the earth and walk the walk here on earth to show all the people who are bodies. We are three-dimensional bodies, meaning we have a physical body that's tied to the physical earth. We have a spiritual body that is the Kai that you see in the Matrix that looks just like the physical body, but it can move around through time and dimensions. And that's why you saw it going up and down the telephone lines and coming into the ship to get back into the body. And then the third body, which is the energy of the essence of God, which is tied by the little silver cord to the body. And once it's severed, that is what you call death, and it goes back to the source it came from, the energy. That's the soul. And the energy came here from, as I said, the Christ, the Adama, the Adam, A-T-O-M, not Adama, enclosed in flesh to walk, to show you that you can overcome all of the adversity here on earth, including the last enemy, which is death. And the walk of evolution is sort of like what you see with the little worm crawling upon the earth, and it goes into the cocoon, and out it comes out in his four-dimensional 4D body. He's a butterfly. He's transformed or metamorphosed into his 4D body. He has ascended, and he's flying, and it's beautiful. The same way Neo is in the Matrix. Neo has gone through ascension. He went through the pod. His human side died. All the corruption was cleansed of him, so the energy could come inside of him. And once he had the energy, he was able to move time and space. He was able to move through dimensions. No bullets could harm him. He could do anything. He was flying, but he wasn't Superman. And what was this telling us? He had already overcome all adversity. He had already overcame all time and space and dimensions. And he has showed us that we can ascend and that there was really no death, that the lie, death was our enemy was actually a lie, that there really wasn't any death, that we could go through this whole path or walk and that we could actually ascend into our fourth dimensional body, our light bodies, that we didn't even have to taste or experience death, that was the only way that we could escape this world, because reincarnation, killing out the body, was only putting you back here again to go through the same thing like a broke record, or a record caught in the groove, repeating the same thing over and over. Like if you went to war and you were killing bodies, well, that's in ignorance. You just kept on killing bodies and you got killed. And then when you got recycled back to the earth, all you remember is you were a soldier, and so you went and looked for the same occupation, and then you start killing again, and hell, you end up back in the same place, not able to ascend, not able to move on, not able to metamorphose, not able to even move out of your ignorance. It's the same thing with hate. It's the same thing with the ignorance of killing people. It's the same thing with these hate groups. And all they're doing is killing themselves, because they're killing off their spirituality, killing off their consciousness. And what do? They go into the void for a minute, and then they come right back until they move and say, God, you know what, I'm sick of this. I've done this 1,000,000 times. How do I move on? Could you please help me to move on so I can get out of this groove? So I can move on, and I can ascend, and I can metamorphose into what I'm supposed to be. And yet no one has ever explained these mysteries to people upon the earth. And it's so sad, because people who are in war and they're killing, and all the people on the earth that are practicing killing and hate and ignorance and stealing and all these other things that are polarity, that are in the negative end of positive, all they're doing is returning their own to ever evolving, going through evolution, cracking those codes so they can ascend into their four-dimensional body, so they can start, you never have to experience death again, and they can ascend and they can overcome their last enemy, which is death. And that's what's going on here. But if I put distractions in your way, like money, so you can just throw it all you can think about is money and how much you can get, how much you can steal, how much you can hate somebody for, kill somebody for, you're never going to evolve, you're never going to get it. And if your pursuit is lust or greed, gluttony, or all the other 7 deadly sins, then you're never going to move consciously out of anything. You're never going to go anywhere. So it's like what God says in the Bible. He says, if someone is lying on you, then you should tell the truth on them. Don't hit them. Don't hurt them. Don't hate them. If someone is persecuting you, then you should pray for them. That's right. And if someone is hating you, then you should love them. That's right. Reverse the polarity on them. By reversing the polarity in every situation, you become the winner. You become the winner because light supersedes darkness. Light is the first law. God says, let there be light. Even though there was the filaments of darkness, he said, let there be light. And as soon as light appeared, it ate up the darkness. And if you think I'm joking about this concept, then go into a dark room and cut on your light switch and look down in the corners, and you will see that darkness is bowing down to the light. Darkness have not left. It's bowing down. Look in the corners, every corner. Look down. And you will see the truth of this universal law. In the Bible, God has all these great universal laws that have been taught to people in ignorance. A lot of people don't even know who God is and what he's trying to say, don't even know what their purpose on earth is really for. They think it's to pursue money. They think it's to pursue all these distractions and ignorance that's going on in all these different groups and organizations. And all it is a vicious cycle or vicious circle. But you're not going anywhere, until you learn these laws and rules that God is talking about, because man has created all of this ignorance. He's created a lot of laws and lies. It's just like almost like when you look at the movie Oz and the Wizard of Oz, and look at the words, the Wizard of Oz. The wizard means a warlock, a witch, someone who's going to lead you someplace that you don't need to go. And Oz, if you look at the word, it's O-Z, ounces. So this wizard of ounces, or wizard of somebody that weighs something, meaning that this wizard is going to be over something that he's going to make a slave out of, that he's going to get a lot of labor out of, that he's going to get to control like a robot. That's what's going on. And when you look at the Emerald City, that's talking about money. And then when you look at follow the yellow brick road, that means that you're following the gold to the money. You're following after the gold to the money. And look at the people who are going to Emerald City looking for the wizard. They're looking for the wizard now. Dorothy is looking for, want to go home. She done lost her way to home. And then look at the straw man. He needs a brain because he can't even think. He don't know what a brain is, and so he thinks he has now, so he needs to go ask the wizard or the government or the situation to give him a brain. And then look at the other two. The lion, he's a coward, so he's looking for courage. And then the Tin Man, he can't feel anything, so he needs a heart so he can love. Yet God tells you in the Bible that home for Dorothy is inside of you, that no man can give you a home. You have to find your home, and it has to be comfortable with what's inside of you. And then the straw man who's looking for a brain, if he would get himself in a situation where he had to use his brain, that he would find that God had already given him a brain, and that he didn't have to go use somebody else's brain or steal somebody else's brain or hurt somebody else or take somebody else's brain. And the same for the lion that's a coward. If he would just stand up for something, take a stand for anything, then he would find his courage, and then he would know that he wasn't a coward because he stood and fought for something. And then look at the Tin Man who wants a heart. You can't get love unless you give love. And if you give love, you will find that you do have a heart, because the love you've given to someone will come back to you. It is never wasted. If the love you gave to someone was never returned, it didn't matter, because that was the wrong person for you anyway. But love is never wasted, so that person will come that you gave that love out to. It will come back to you like a boomerang. That love will come to you. Whatever love you gave will be the love you will receive, because that is all you can get, is what you've given. If you've given a pure, spotless love, then you can receive that in return, because we only get what we give in this world. And every kind word that we put out, or as bad as any bad deeds that we put out, is coming back to us like a boomerang to haunt us. And we got to realize that media is bought and paid for. It's just like a whore. It's out seeking sought for money. We haven't had a free press since Benjamin Franklin. And the people that own the media, they're men. And they tell you what to drink, what to buy, how to think. They program you with numerous programs. They tell you when you need milk. Milk does the body good, and they put commercials on. They tell you that beef is, good for you, and go out and buy beef. They tell you pork, if they want you to eat pork. It's the other white meat, so they make you think that it's just as good as chicken. Chicken is the white meat, so pork is the other white meat. And now they're telling you that corn syrup is not bad for you, because all you need to do is research and find it's very good. They're running those commercials. But these are all subliminals that people will never think about. They never think that they're being controlled. All people say, oh, no, we're not controlled. We have freedom. We're in America. We're in the greatest country in the world, and we can do whatever we want. Yet America is the greatest controlled and propaganda country in the world, and probably the most imprisoned of all, simply because If you really want to lock somebody up, all you have to do is make them think that they're free. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That is the greatest illusion of people who are oppressed. The most oppressed people in the world think they are the freest people in the world, and that others are oppressed. But yet the people over in the other countries know the truth, and that is a greater freedom than somebody who believes in the illusions of lies and think that they're free. My work has done more globally to shift the consciousness and wake people up that they have been oppressed for hundreds of years, and this shift in consciousness have awakened them enough for them to rise up and start making changes. And it's so sad that a lot of people hate me for bringing the truth to the earth. And I got even greater truth to bring, because what was stolen from me was my baby work. But you can't steal the gift, because the gift and I are one. And that's the ignorance of man. Parasites can copy, but they can't duplicate the success of the work. That's why the Matrix has been sitting there for 7 years, dominant. It ain't come on, Star Wars is going on and on and on, and it's making money. But you can't carry on something that didn't come from you. So it's sitting there, $1 billion franchise, branded. And Hollywood is in trouble because the very thing that they've stolen has atrophied their whole programs. It shifted the consciousness of the world. Now people want more of it. And Hollywood can't duplicate the success, so they cannot give you anything more. And they're in a crisis now, because now my work, Matrix and Terminator, became $1 billion franchises. So now Hollywood needs more money. They were fine with hundreds of millions of dollars, but just like what Muhammad Ali did with the boxing arena, he took it out of the hundreds of $1,000 purses into the millions of dollar purses, like Mike Weaver and Michael Weaver and Mike Tyson and a whole lot of other boxers, La Hoya, and then all those $1 million purses to Muhammad Ali. Yeah, because he changed everything. And my work changed how Hollywood do business and how people view movies. Now, it took, Matrix 1 made $1 billion by itself. It only cost $70 million to make, but it made $1 billion. But it brought in the DVD era. That changed everything, because I brought in games, merchandising, all kinds of stuff. Now technology is running so fast, so rapid, that it doesn't matter how many remakes Hollywood do, how many rehashes. There is not going to be enough to satisfy them. They tried to contrive $1 billion franchise with Avatar, which was just comprised of a bunch of stolen work from a lot of different artists. That's why James Cameron did not get the 2 most coveted Oscars that he wanted, for Best Director and for the Best Picture of the Year. So you see, they're in trouble now. They don't have anything to market it. And everything that's going on right now in the theaters is bombing. Their theaters are empty. 35,000 theaters, and they're empty across the country. Because why? Because their movies are being bootlegged so fast, it's unbelievable. Yeah, they stole from a lot of creativity from a lot of people, and they use crooked judges and crooked courts to shut down everything, to keep stealing. But yet they put their own greedy selves out of business, and so did the music industry, because they were stealing from the people. They didn't get it. If you practice the laws of circulation, that's right, if you continue to circulate the money among the people around the world, you would become richer by circulating. But if you hoard it and you only kept it in your circle of friends, then you made yourself poor. And you atrophied your own beginnings because you didn't circulate. You didn't practice the law of circulation. You created your own pattern of theft and whatever you call circulation, and you didn't go anyplace. You atrophied yourself out of business. Because, ladies and gentlemen, they're out of business. I guarantee you. You can feel it, you can see it, because the bootleggers, and they're making more money than Hollywood. And look, you're downloading. You can right now on your computer, and the Internet has put them totally out of business, and their whole future is in jeopardy if they don't even come to the Internet and come soon to the Internet. They're really going to be out of business totally.
Yeah, I'd like to add something that to what you're saying, to what some of the listening audience may be familiar with. It's in Mr. Fuller's book, but it isn't expounded upon, and it should be. But he has the quote that the disease of the destruction of white supremacy, is the term you guys use, is built into the system itself. Now, that has a direct relationship with the point that Ms. Stewart is making relative to them atrophying their own selves. In other words, these people have gotten so used to being on top. These people have gotten so used to getting away with stealing that they really haven't been exercising their muscles. And when you don't exercise the muscles, they atrophy. And when your muscles get atrophied, you get weak. And when you get weak, you start making mistakes. And this is what's going on in the world. We're not watching a system operating. You're watching a system crash.
That's right. It's crashing right now.
Crashing because of the seeds of the destruction are built in the system. The man wrote it in the book. You cannot do this shit forever. And without going into, everybody has their own view of God. But I say, if you can't have black supremacy and white supremacy at the same universe at the same time, if you can't have white supremacy and a supreme being in the same universe at the same time, what these people are doing is illusionary. It ain't real. It's a fraud. And the power in what's been going on legally has been Ms. Stewart's ability to point out that these things that are given to the court as a fact are actually a fraud. This is what got them scared. Because when you submit something in a fraudulent means, you can't take it back unless you have a time machine. But when most people are ignorant, like Ms. Stewart was saying earlier, ignorant means you don't know. So if you don't know it's a fraud, that means you think it's a reality. You think it's real. You think it's legitimate. And therefore, in your thinking it's legitimate, you actually empower the evil yourself through your own ignorance, whether you know it or not. So when you point out something that is a misrepresentation of fact, which is what I think white supremacy really is, it's so-called. It sure seems real, just like the Matrix, but it's not. And I've taken the position, personally, I'm not speaking for anyone else, but I've taken the position that they're not. I don't take the position that anybody is superior over me. Absolutely not. Because that would mean I would need them to free myself. I don't need them. Because you free yourself when you become aware of certain facts. When you know what's yours, when you stand up for what's true, then I think that's what we're judged on. I mean, as far as all the material aspects that they have the ruler and they have the measurement on, I'm not so sure you can put your value in that.
Well, this is the deal. What a man believes in is what either frees him or what suppresses him.
Correct.
It's your own belief system which makes you move right along, move your head, or set you back. It's what you believe in. And these people are illusionists, or they're like warlocks, witches. Because if you look at the word Hollywood, Holly is the tree where the witches' wands were made from. That's why they call it Hollywood, because that's the witch's wand. And the people in Hollywood, they create illusions. And they don't really move you. You move yourself through what they are setting out programs, different various programs. And you're moved by these programs, and when you read their magazines and newspapers and you look at television and you look at all the different media events and everything, these are just numerous of programs that you are either subliminally paying attention to or being absorbing or being absorbed by. And it's you that, like Chicken Little, like when Chicken Little was running around and Chicken Little was saying the sky is falling. Yeah, the sky was falling, but it was falling on Chicken Little because he was the only one that was seeing the sky fall. And then he brought other people into his world, and then other people start seeing it. Yeah, people can bring you into their world because if you look in the world, you'll see that a lot of people are not bothered with a lot of different things. Some people are self-absorbed. Some people are over here doing this. Some people are talking about that over there. It's just all these numerous programs, and different people or various people are involved in these situations, and they're talking about them. But there are no two people or no set of people all talking about it at the same time. It's just all this different stuff that's going in, and it all depends on what is in your thought world, where you see yourself and what's going on and what you identify with or what is you are touched by and so forth, because it's just a lot of stuff going on in the world, period. And there are these people that are dying for these things that they believe in. And then there are some people who are standing up for things that they believe in. And then there are just some people who are just trying to oppress and keep everybody down because they're just haters. They live in a world of hate. And then there's people that live in worlds of defeat. And they want everybody to be defeated. And you just got to look around you and you got to say, wait a minute, I don't want to be with that group and I don't want to be with this group. I want to be with somebody that's positive, and I want to be with something that's moving upward and onward. Because everything that is not moving on and upward, like change and progress, and you're stepping back and you're going backwards and you're looking back like Lot's, then you're not going anywhere. You're just moving yourself back and keep moving yourself back. And you don't like your life and you don't like your friends and you don't like anything that's going on. God says that everything must change, that nothing can remain the same, that life was changing, that your cells were growing and changing, and that your hair was coming out and going in at the same time, and your nails and your skin, and that everything around you was just in a constant fluke of change. And this is what you call, and this is what we have to do. We have to progress. We have to move forward. We can't get stuck off over here. We gotta make those changes. Change is good. It's not bad that someone has taught us that change is bad and that you want to stay in the same rut, you want to stay with the same friends. Then you can't ever grow. No pain, no gain. You can't grow. You have to have polarity. Polarity, the good and the bad, you have to have both. That's one. You got to have war and peace. You got to experience being rich sometimes. And you got to experience being poor sometimes so you can see what it feels like. You got to experience having pain sometimes. You got to experience having happiness, because in Ecclesiastes, God says that there's everything, that you will go through all the things. That there was time to plant, a time to be happy, a time to change, a time to grow. There was going to be where you were going to be in musical chairs. You were going to experience everything. You were going to experience to be rich. You were going to experience to be poor. You were going to experience to have a lot. You're going to be in lack. But you have to have all of these things in order to shift your consciousness, in order for you to grow, in order for you to have understanding and compassion. You got to make these changes. If you don't experience this, then you won't even know what it feels like for another man. Like they said, and one man was wishing for a pair of new shoes when another man didn't even have any feet to put in the shoes. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So these are all these things that are going on, and it's all about change. And anybody that didn't want to change, didn't want to grow, it's retarding themselves, and then I guess want to retard others.
You talk about how your work shifted consciousness, and when I spoke with you yesterday, you shared that one of the things that influenced you to create the Third Eye, which spawned the Matrix and the Terminator, you said was seeing really ugly images of black people in films, the blaxploitation films, and you said you wanted to make black superheroes. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, and this is very true. No, a lot of people don't really go into the depths of that. But during the late 70s, they had all these black exploitation movies, which you can find in Blockbusters or various places on the internet, or different stores. You can still find these negative images, because if you destroy the image of something, you have the feelings inside of people. Now, I understand the genocides of a race, and the white supremacist whole concept of genociding a race is to destroy the black males, the young black males. Because if you destroy the young black males, then you have destroyed the whole entire race. And that's what the lynching and killing of young black males were all about. Half of them probably never even looked at a white woman, probably never even desired a white woman, never wanted a white woman. That was all just lies and ignorance, just to cover up the real reason why they were killing out young black males, which right to this day, a lot of people are in ignorance of that. They still practice the same thing, killing the young black male, or putting him, even Spanish guys, in prison and jail and killing them out, because that is genociding your race. And sometimes race lose hope, and it all dies anyway because it loses hope. And when I saw the black exploitation movies, and I wasn't aware of this genociding of the race at that particular period, all I knew that those black exploitation images of black people around the world was just totally negative, and it was totally ignorance. And I wanted to do something to make changes about that. I wanted to give our black kids hope that they can one day become president of the United States like Obama. And I feel that my work, Matrix and Terminator, made those global changes that caused Obama to become in the White House, to get there. And that many races and color, creeds and tongues and nationality that man has named them are the ones responsible for putting Obama there. And I feel it's tough because, like I said, I was at USC Film School in the early 80s, and I wanted to make a change. So I decided to do a second coming of Christ, which is not even mentioned in there's no story. It's mentioned in Revelations that he's going to come back, but there's no story. So I created this science fiction story with these characters, and the Oracle, by the way, is me, as a seer like Nostradamus and Leonardo da Vinci and Edgar Cayce, but a prolific master writer like H.G. Wells and Jules Verne and Alexander Dumas. I saw that I could create a story where Christ would come back through the womb, because Matrix is Latin for womb, and he would walk the earth again, enclosed in flesh, and he would shift the consciousness of people and then sin, go through ascension, and metamorphosis into his fourth-dimensional body, and he'd be up against the machines or technology when he came back. And I wanted to give the black kids some superheroes. And I was talked about in the Los Angeles Sentinel newspaper. They said Sophia Stewart is going to come up with this great black science fiction with black superheroes, something that has never been seen ever before. Now, the newspaper article is in my book. When people go and buy the book, everything that I'm speaking about, amazingly, since I'm a seer, is in that book. The FBI's documentation and evidence showing that I am the writer of the Matrix and the Terminator. And the protective expressions, the characters, the special effects, the graphics, everything about the Matrix and Terminator is right there, including the red and the blue. And so I created these black superheroes. And when you look at the Matrix, you get to see every last one of these black superheroes: Morpheus, Tank, Dozer, the Oracle, and so forth. It's tons of them. Jada Pickett's character, Mona Getty's character, and so forth. It's all there. And it's the only science fiction that's ever had black superheroes before or after. There are none to excel the Matrix.
Can you kind of share also, because when I spoke with you yesterday, you talked about how the fact that Keanu Reeves, who plays Neo in the film, he has a non-white parent. His father, I believe, is so-called Asian, and you talked about that.
Yeah, Asian Polynesian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now the character part of the one was offered to Will Smith, and Will Smith turned it down because for Wild Wild West, which kind of bummed. And then Keanu Reeves, well, it really did, because I don't think anybody can play Jim West but Jim West. Just like I don't think anybody can play Dirty Harry but Clint Eastwood. You know, Michael Connor was Jim West. Anyway, Keanu Reeves went on to play Neo, and it's all history. And Keanu Reeves' mother is English, but his father is Asian Polynesian. And that name Kiana, Polynesian name. As in Carrie-Ann Moss, Trinity, like the angel, playing a very major part, but in the background of love and grace. He's also Canadian. And then a lot of whites pointed this out, and you still can read their blurbs everywhere. That's all over the place, blogged everywhere. If you go on YouTube and various places and you put in Sophia Stewart on Yahoo, Bing, or Google, they got it. The white people got it. They said, my goodness, Matrix. I believe Sophia Stewart did write the Matrix because it's an oppressed system, and that is not a system that we're in. And all the bad guys are the white guys. The black guys are the superheroes. And I was also telling Gus yesterday that everybody around the world, all different races, color, and creed, there are no whites to identify with Neo. But I've had many a fan, black and Spanish and all, come to me and say, I'm Neo, I'm Morpheus, I'm the Oracle.
When she shared this with me yesterday, I was super incredulous. Like, are you serious? White people really don't identify with Neo's character, Keanu Reeves' character Neo in the film? Because I know so many white people love The Matrix and went to all of them and everything. And she said, can you share more about that? Because you said white people, white males, they do not identify with Neo.
They do not. I mean, if you think I'm joking, there's people listening to me. Call in and prove me wrong. I welcome you to, because I've never, and it's been going on since '99 when I discovered my work on the screen, I've had different males to come and write me and tell me that they are the one, that they are Neo. But I've never had any males to identify, white males to identify with Neo. And Matrix 1 is shown on BET. And it won 4 Oscars, and it's never talked about that it's shown on BET all the time, and the other 2 Matrix are shown on all the white stations. There are fans who will call in and attest to this. Fans have emailed me and called me and told me this. The first Matrix is black, and it's shown everywhere. And the first Matrix is separated from the other 2 Matrix. They never really tell people that the first Matrix made $1 billion by itself. And like I said, it won 4 Oscars. It's never broadcast, never talked about that it won 4 Oscars. Now, with the other 2 Matrix, they're still derivatives of my work, and so they are still my work. And then they did go back in, because when you see the gold coming out of Neo's eyes and the numbers, they stole that right out of the book. I mean, it's just right when you get the book and read it. And what people need to do is buy the book and read the whole thing and look at the characters and everything, read the whole thing, and compare it to the 6 movies. And you can understand why Terminator 4 is in bankruptcy right now. I'm in the bankruptcy court for $370 million. People are not even aware that I've been involved in 3 court cases, not just one court cases, and people are believing in the illusion that I was in one court case and it's over and it's gone and that's the end, and they're putting all these lies out there. I'm in the Utah court case 2007 for $150 million for malpractice and fraud. But I've already proven that I wrote the Matrix and Terminator in that court, because once you enter the evidence into any court, it eats up the fraud. Fraud is like a virus, you know. That's all it is. It's a virus. But when you put the truth in there, the truth eats it up, just tears it all to pieces. And then I've already proven in the bankruptcy court that I wrote the Matrix and the Terminator, because I put the evidence into that court system. And it's already eaten them up, because I got liens now. I've liened up maybe 30 or 40 companies. I'll take the judgment from the Utah court case and have the constables to come out and collect my money. The constables will get a percentage of everything they collect from these companies. And that's where we're just about at right now. And I'm getting ready to collect the money that people have been screaming and dying. Well, she get this money? Well, I bet she's never going to get it. I mean, just a lot of haters out there not looking at the fact that the court case, the 2003 court case that they shut down, would have already won that case, because I already have the proof that I wrote the Matrix and Terminator, because the FBI had already done it. I was trying to get the money from 1981 up until the present, 2010, and what they did was they shut me from getting the money. What you need to understand was there was never any dispute that I wrote the Matrix and Terminator. You guys have been looking at me for years using Sophia, the Oracle, Sophia, mother of the Matrix, the images and everything. In the book, everything out. No lawsuit, no one shutting me down, no one telling me no. If you try to use that, see what happens to you. Go ahead, try it. And I bet you get shut down in a New York minute. But the media, they're not dumb. They say this woman's got to be the real thing. She's got to be the author, because she's using the images. Go on Amazon, punch in Sophia Stewart, and look, I'm using the images. I'm using the names. No one can stop me. I'm the Oracle. No one is calling me a liar. Now, you know who's calling me a liar? People who don't even have the right to call me out of my name, call me crazy, call me a liar. I guarantee you I got greater credentials than any of you that's calling me out of my name. I'm not crazy. I went to USC Film School. I got a degree in journalism and a double minor in law and psychology. I'm a paralegal. I've done cases. I scored 98 on the IRS exam. I've been doing taxes since I was 11, payroll since I was a teenager. I assure you that I am not crazy, and I have great credentials, and anybody who has written the Matrix and Terminator cannot be crazy. What is crazy is that you believe in a lie. Now, that's the crazy thing, believing in a lie when there's no proof for the lie. Now, that's the crazy thing.
Now this is why I made the 1 minute and 45, and this is the point about fraud and going up against misrepresentation of the facts. Because when you look into the matter and in the details, what's the most appalling fact is that James Cameron doesn't have any legitimate copyright for the Terminator. He never did. And the reason that he never did is anybody who's seen that first Terminator, now this is what the internet eventually did. James Cameron admitted that he stole scenes from Harlan Ellison's Soldier back in the 80s. He admitted it in Starlog magazine. Harlan Ellison found out about it. Harlan Ellison approached Hemdale Films, and what did those people do, ladies and gentlemen? They paid Harlan Ellison $65,000 to $75,000 to be quiet about the theft. And
they paid him $70,000 for a dinner with the glass hand and the soldier, and then they paid him another $5,000 to be quiet. They gagged him with $5,000. Can you imagine? You could have got more money than that to be gagged.
Right.
Well, he got paid $70,000 for his work.
That's right. And the point I was going to make was that after paying him to be quiet, gagging him, they made a fatal error. And this is really just caught my attention in terms of just the jiu-jitsu move that Sophia Stewart was intelligent enough to understand and point out, is the fact that they put Harlan Ellison's name on the Terminator. At the end of the film, you can see the credit acknowledgments to Harlan Ellison. But they failed to disclose Harlan Ellison as an author on line 6 of the copyright registration. Ladies and gentlemen, that means they have fraudulent copyrights. They committed fraud on the Library of Congress by failing to disclose the true authors.
So in other words, they premeditated fraud. They went in there, they premeditated it, they contemplated it, and Cameron admitted on November 22nd, 2009 to Maury Schaefer on 60 Minutes that he stole my copyrighted work. Because Maury Schaefer asked James Cameron, how did you come up with the Terminator? He said he had a dream that the Terminator was coming out of the flames. And if you look in my, get it, because everything's in the movie treatment, there it is. I'm the only one, I assure you, the only one ever to create a cyborg with flesh, laying naked and steel coming out of a burning blue meteorite that comes to the earth. It is verbatim, and I'll be back. That is my verbatimly, because he comes back as 3 different cyborgs. Every movie, I'll be back. We'll be back. Every movie. And he comes back as a different cyborg. And you will see this in the work. I mean, the 1:45 documentary that Ed did blows the whole theft, which is on the screen. That's right. When people pulls up their copyrights in their work, James Cameron had a treatment, claiming his 82 treatment came before my book, but my 81 copyrighted movie treatment came before anything he or the Wachowski brothers ever did. And the Wachowskis, they don't have anything.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have nothing but one sheet of paper with the title Matrix on copyright.
I didn't want to cut you off, Mr. Small. I was just hoping you could you tell our listeners who might not be familiar, and I want you also to share the documentary because that, I think, is fabulous, and folks will learn a lot if you can watch the documentary. Could you tell them about your documentary and just kind of set up who James Cameron and Gail Ann Hurd are for folks who might not be as familiar with what's happened with Ms. Stewart's case?
Sure. Well, I did a 1-minute and 45-second documentary. It's called Hidden in Plain Sight, very key term. It's a documentary on copyright infringement. And I made that documentary to put into a video form how exactly theft is put forward in Hollywood and how that was done in relationship to Ms. Stewart and the perpetrators, of course, of that theft being James Cameron and Gail Ann Hurd. They've gone down in history as the writers of the Terminator. Of course, we understand that to be a vicious lie. They never wrote anything. And that's all provable in the copyright submissions that they put in the Library of Congress. Anybody can go to the Copyright Office and pull up James Cameron's copyright for the Terminator. Now, the copyrights that you see and that you will read, they sound like Terminator 2, but they sound nothing like the first Terminator. Now, why is this important? Why is source work important? Well, just like if you're building a building, you're going to have blueprints for your building. You have to tell the carpenters what to do, the ironworkers what to do, the welders. You have to tell all the inspectors what to do. So you need plans. And source material in terms of Hollywood are the plans for a production. So when you look at the plan for the man's production for what's probably the most phenomenal science fiction going, the Matrix the Terminator, in the past 20, 30 years, you find out that there's nothing that bears a resemblance to what's on the screen, hence the term hidden in plain sight. So Ms. Stewart's protected literary work, the protected literary work of other authors were used purposely for the premeditated purpose of being kept out of their source work, yet displayed on the screen. So you see post-nuclear war, you see this man-machine battle when you see the first Terminator. But when you look at James Cameron's copyrights, you don't see that. So James
Cameron does not have any post-nuclear war. He does not have the original concept man versus the machine. There's nothing in there talking about man versus the machine, nothing about the nuclear war, nothing about the Terminator naked without shame, lying, steel coming out of the burning flame.
Right. So they hid the theft in plain sight, meaning they were smart enough not to put it in their copyright registration, because of course you don't want to get caught with stealing. This is the importance of understanding the analogy of a chop shop. If I'm just going to steal your car and run it into a tree for a joyride, that's what lower blue-collar criminals might do. A white-collar criminal is going to take your car and he's around and dare you to prove it's yours. This is embezzlement. So he has to repaint it, he has to change the rims, he has to change the VIN number, and this is the method of how they stole copyright material that was already copyrighted. They took the elements out, kept it on their copyright insurance, but they put it in the film that they were going to get financing for and get the proceeds from. But they never thought that down the road that the lady would have put together in a legal proceeding the substantial similarity to their work, the fact that Fox had it, the fact that the access copy and substantial similarity is all there to be seen, and her lawyers actually had the evidence to win the case and didn't submit it. So you have fraud, you have malpractice, and you have copyright infringement all rolled into
and you have criminal copyright infringement. Criminal copyright infringement, which the FBI had already pointed out that it was criminal copyright infringement and had told Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers cut out the same introduction as the Terminator. Warner Brothers had in the first Matrix, the identical same introduction in the Terminator. And we thought they were being slick, but they never cut it out of the anti-Matrix. It can be seen right in the anti-Matrix right now.
Yeah, the 1 minute and 45 seconds that you guys see, everyone listen very carefully. What you see in the first minute and 45 seconds of The Terminator by Fox, that is the same as the post-nuclear war that you see in the second Renaissance 2 of the Animatrix. It shows how the stories are won. And that is the element that is absent the copyright registration of James Cameron and the alleged creator, showing that it's a Rico enterprise, showing that they took from one main source to give the best science fiction film for the past 20 or 30 years, in Matrix and the Terminator. And why did the second two films suck? Does the public really want to know? Well, when Ms Stewart informed them of the theft in '99, they had to protect themselves, so they started making revisions, changes, taking out the introductions, as he just alluded, to try to get away with theft. So he had to watch a sucky movie so they can cover up their crimes. And this is what everyone's going to know.
Yeah, and see, by getting the book, you guys don't even understand. That book is memorabilia, it's historical, it proves beyond a shadow of doubt that James Cameron and Gail Ann Hurst, who claim they wrote The Terminator, did not write The Terminator, and Andy and Larry Wachowski, who claim they wrote The Matrix, did not write The Matrix, that they are fraud, that they have perpetrated fraud on everyone. And how do you know? Because James Cameron, after Terminator 2, didn't want to have anything to do with the Terminator. He said he wasn't even interested in the Terminator. He's moved on from that imagery. And if he's not interested, then nobody else should be interested. That does not sound like somebody talking about their work. Because that sounds like somebody who came up with a ingenious new concept, man versus machine. And the Wachowski brothers have already created a new gay story, a gay soldier story in the new Iraqi war against the United States. Yeah, that's their new movie. Some gay heart-related.
That's funny. That's funny. George Lucas made Star Wars, and he's still making the Clone Wars. He never made anything else. Now, these guys made The Matrix, and you guys are going from that to Alan Moore's work, V for Vendetta. Then you go from that to Speed Racer, which was the Japanese man's work. Yeah, when are you guys going to create something? I mean, you know, this is part of the illusion that these people put forward. I mean, these people are the front people for big-time theft that's going on in entertainment. And this is why are we watching reality? Why does all the music sound the same? Because the theft of creativity in the entire area of entertainment, area of people relations known as entertainment, has made it to where we're just feeding from the trough. There is no access to creativity because they're stealing it all.
Yeah, and I just can't believe that people will sit up there and believe that Andy and Wachowski are writers and genius writers, and that they wrote the Matrix, and they're buying other writers' work. If you can't write, then you got to buy it. And anybody who says they wrote the Matrix and they're a genius, they can continue to write. They can write. They will never buy anybody's work. There will be no need. It's just like you sit up there saying you're Picasso and you got to go out and buy Rembrandt's work or somebody else's work. That's crazy. If you are a master painter, why would you go to another painter and buy his work? What is wrong with you painting your own work and continuing it? But that's right. You didn't do it, did you? Because it's easy to duplicate your own success. Ask Jack. As Taylor Woods, as Aretha Franklin and Barbara Streisand and everybody else who has that creative genius that can continue their work. No genius put down his work and make fun of it or don't want to continue it or let others make a mockery of it, like the way Terminator 4 ended up in bankruptcy court because they tried to change the concept and make it their own. And World Star Chronicles, those are my TV rights, the series. It's not on Fox anymore. Ask is that correct because if it belonged to them, it'll still be showing and making money.
Can you give people the address where they can get a copy of The Third Eye and check out other material that you have? Can you give them your website?
Yes, they can go to truthaboutmatrix.com. That's truthaboutmatrix.com. You can put it in Yahoo or Bing search engine or Google and it'll come up. And then you can go in there and you can buy The Third Eye book. I'm selling the ebook right now for $24.99. And people are buying it. And they're getting the movies. And a lot of people are already on the movies, but the price is right there. You can buy the book. It has everything in there. It has the movie treatment, the 81 copyrighted movie treatment. It has the copyrights. It has the FBI documents. It even has my new work, Solus, and When the Gods Walk the Earth at the back of the book. It has the graphics there. It shows you the special effects. I'm talking about scanners. I'm talking about programming and downloading and barcodes. I'm talking about virtue fighting. The body is in the ship, and they're fighting with the Kai, which is the image of the body, like a shadow body. I created all of that. I'm talking about fighting with machines right now, using video machines to teach people how to fight wars, like video games. Tell them about that, Ed.
Yeah, one thing. If I could share one thing, for some of the guys that familiar with the interview that I did, it's been in the counteraction law for some time. So I can share this. I first found out about Sophia Stewart. Edward Williams and I were on the phone one day a while back in 2004. And it was pretty small, man. He goes, a black woman wrote the Matrix. I said, no shit. He goes, yeah. So, I said, all right. So I started doing my research, we hung up, and I did some research, and I got her phone number, and I called her, that night. And from the first time we talked, and I got to say, I didn't have the book when I first did the interview back in 2004. I didn't have it. I just had the court cases and just what I knew from, being familiar with the code and just understanding the importance of words and how they're used. I was able to, those faculties really helped me understand the weight of what was going on because, she wasn't just making claims. What she did was code, pure. She actually said the right words. And this is what really had me. So, I went through all that. You found out I had a black judge gets recused. One of the lawyers that come over to negotiate a settlement with the woman is the one who blew the whistle and said that they were using her stuff. I mean, the deeper intrigue just had me. So I was like, well, I'm going to interview this lady, and this is what was in the counteraction law, this interview. Now, I didn't get the book until sometime later. Now, when I read the book, it was crazy because when I actually saw, what she had written down, I mean, what really struck me was that, not just that a black person did it, but this was written 30 freaking years ago. That's what really blew me away. It blew me away that what we saw 81 or 84 when they released it, a black USC film student had this already written and was shocking it. This was not even their story to be told. And I really take the position that this is why this is a nightmare for them. Because they I mean, look, when you read the book and you see what happens at the end, you know why Hollywood killed Neo. See, this is very important why they did that. The book doesn't end that way. I won't give it up. But the book does not end that way. But they showed you that on screen. Now, these people who are masters of images and words, they do things for a reason. See, they want people to think that there is no beating them. This is why they made Neo a part of the system, and everybody knew that was bullshit. How is Neo going to be a part of the system? See, this is how you know that these people had to make these changes from the work that they stole because she told us that they knew. So they had to go in there, and then the Merovingian came up with all this bullshit about choice was an illusion between those with power and those without. That had nothing to do with what that woman wrote. Choice was everything. But this is the result of these people having to get away from the fact that they got, not the fact that they were just stealing, because they got caught stealing. And this is the dire straits that they're in right now. It's just a matter of time until legal maneuvers take their proper place. But please understand that James Cameron and Gail Ann Hurd and Warner Brothers and Fox have an indefensible legal position because their case is based on fraud. They can't come to the court and ask for any redress when everything they put forward to evidence their ownership of intellectual property is fraudulent. As a matter of fact, I'm not just whistling Dixie here. And this is what people should know. And I think it's very important for people to realize the power that you have when you tell the truth and you use words in such a way that you neutralize the words that the racists use. Because, you know, they have to follow rules too. You know, these people have rules they got to follow. That's why I say if they were really as powerful as a lot of people think, they wouldn't lie. They just do it. They put forth the fraud so they'll get away with it. But once you point out what the fraud is, like Sophia Stewart is saying, Your Honor, this guy has no copyright. What is the guy going to say? I got to go to the bathroom? I mean, this is just the reality of speaking truth to power when someone lies on you to tell the truth on them.
Yeah, but you know what is so brainwashing and horrible to accept is the fact that these guys are white, and so therefore their word is better than mine. I got an email from a person, a woman named Sarah, and she's like, well, is it true that you won? You know, you know, the evidence is on Facebook, but you need to go to CBS. Again, here we go again. These white people can lie to you, and they are acceptable. They don't got to go to CBS to lie to you. They don't got to go to court to lie to you. They don't got to go anywhere. They just simply got to tell you a lie, and you accept it. When they're a black person, we telling the truth, but a black person has to go through all these channels and CBS and Oprah and everything, and the judge got to hit the gravel before your truth is accepted. It has to go through a white marinade before it's accepted as truth. And that's the sad part. Because once truth is revealed, that is the victory. Because the whole point of them hiding and committing a fraud is to keep you deceived and in deception. But if you want to free yourself and you really want to see the truth, then you don't need to accept any marinade to see it. You don't got to go through any white acceptance for it to be truth. It doesn't got to be on People magazine or, you know what I'm saying, or on Entertainment Tonight in order for you to accept it. And I learned a lot about that, Gus. That's a sad point, isn't it? But the same, let me give it to you in a great example for you to digest it in others. White people can walk into Obama's party at the White House and not go through any security. Now, you could be a diplomat from Africa and have real credentials and get shut down. How about that one? Now, is that good enough for you for the white marinade?
Crystal clear. Again, the website, please check it. Truthaboutmatrix.com. Again, truthaboutmatrix.com. matrix.com. If you're at Blog Talk Radio, you can just click Sophia Stewart, and it'll take you right to her website. You can pick up a copy of The Third Eye. Again, as she said, the ebook, $24.99. You can pick it up today at her website, truthaboutmatrix.com. I wanted, I guess you could share, because yesterday when we spoke, you talked about how this information is not talked about. People, news outlets, popular news outlets do not talk about your story, although it was an article in Wall Street Journal. But you said you see this happening even on the internet with regards to the number of search hits that your name generates just looking at the Google search engine, Yahoo search engine, Bing search engine. Can you kind of talk about how what's happened to you has not been adequately covered and outright suppressed?
Yeah, well, this is what kind of really upset me a little bit, because people are so confused, and they're kind of trying to get mad a little bit at me, and they have no reason to get mad at me. They need to call up there, like, I'm going to do them just like the government do. You need to call up your congressmen and your senators and write a letter. Or you need to call up your television stations and radio and magazines that you read and ask them why they're not reporting the news to you. Why are you being confused, and why you're talking about a case that's old, and then not knowing that I'm in 2 other court cases, and not even knowing about my news being reported accurately and correctly, and not understanding that the very people who have stolen from me are the people who are in charge of the media. That seems to be a big confusion. And then you can see it for yourself, because as I'm telling you, to Gus, when you go on Yahoo search engine and you put Sophia Stewart in there, you're going to get 9 million hits. And when you go to Bing, you're going to get like 5 million hits. And Bing is a relative new search engine, B-I-N-G, Bing. But when you go to Google, which is influenced by Warner Brothers and some other studios, you're going to probably get 700,000 hits with Sophia Stewart in the search engine. Now ask yourself that question, because Google is the most widely accepted and #1 search engine that's always viewed and highly recognized. So what is the problem? Ask yourself that question. And why is the problem that you have to hear? Because I've done over 4,000 interviews, magazines, newspapers, radio, and a lot of mainstream. But a lot of people don't even know this. Have no clue. It's just like different parts of the United States and different states where some people have knowledge and some people don't. Some are getting the truth and others are getting confusion. And then what is the blame? You're not even asking why it's the media. And then when you call the media, some people are calling media, and then the media is, well, Sophia has to win a case before she can come around and talk about her case. There's a lot of people out there talking about their cases and being prosecuted and everything else. And they haven't won, they haven't done anything, and they're on there because the news is supposed to be biased and supposed to report the news and not suggest that somebody has to win or lose in order to be on there. Think about that one for a moment. You're not getting the news because me being black and being a woman, I have to win in order to be heard. I have to win in order to be seen. I have to win in order for the truth to be believed. Yet, there are no FBI stopping me from using Sophia Stewart, the mother of the Matrix, the Oracle, and the images, and selling it, and giving other people permission to use it. How about that one? Because if I'm the copyright owners, then I must be infringing. And what the hell is going on? Because I don't see any lawsuit. I don't see any countersuit. I don't even see any slander suit. Because I'm calling them liars and crooks and thieves and all other kind of names. And I don't even see any challenges. I don't even see in the media that they're saying Sophia Stewart is a liar and a fraud. But I'm getting a lot of guts from the fans and the people who want their haters and don't want to believe. They don't want to believe their own eyes. They don't even want to buy the book and look at the truth. This woman, Sarah, going to ask me if I'm trying to sell my book. I don't even have to sell my book. My book is the real thing. It has proof that I wrote The Matrix and the Terminator. And people are buying it. And you can't find a used copy. You can't even find any copy once it sells out. Period. I hope that answered your question.
It did. We had a lot of folks that called in. I want to give them a chance to call before I go to the phone lines. Mr. Small, did you have anything you wanted to share before I hit the phone line?
No, sir. Open those phone lines up and give people a chance to ask their question. There's no better person to talk to than me.
Okay. If both of you, if you could make an effort to speak up a little bit, I think one of the listeners, she said that the voices were a little low, so I guess we'll all try to speak a little clearer for everyone. Thank you both. Going to the phone lines, first caller, last four digits, 5827. 5827. Your line is open.
Hey, Gus, this is Thomas calling from Charlotte.
Oh, good to hear from you, sir.
Hey, I was and Ms Stewart. This is my second time speaking to her. How you doing?
Fine. How you doing?
Good. I'm hoping that there was something I think I talked to you last time, and there was something that was circulated on the internet, and I was like so overjoyed with to find out they was playing tricks with me because I thought you had won that case that got $2 billion and disappeared. It went off into the sunset. But like I said, I'm glad to see you still fighting on. You're getting your work out there, and I try to tell as many people as possible because I think it's just very important, especially for young black women, that they understand that we have more than just being a shucking job and be coons and buffoons, and that we're intellectuals, we're innovators, we're trailblazers, and everything else. So I really admire what you've done with your work. So like I said, keep on fighting on, and hopefully the truth will get out to the masses, whether they like it or not.
Thank you, because, that's the bottom line right there. It's whether the masses want to hear the truth and accept it or not. That's what needs to be told to them. You can accept it just like the red and the blue pill. You can accept the red pill and find out the truth and go on with life and see how deep the truth goes. Or you can simply accept the blue pill and just stay right in la-la land and continue to do the ignorant stuff and not look back and just, keep going what you're doing and be low and controlled by media and people who own the media. Because it's all about seeking the truth and finding out truth for yourself. That's the bottom line right there. What do you believe? And what do you want to believe?
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, a long-time listener. I appreciate you supporting the program. Next caller, last four digits, 5128. 5128. Your line is open if you have a question.
No, actually, I'm just listening tonight. Thank you.
No problem. Someone called in. Number is just showing all ones. If you called in with a blocked number and you have a question for Ms. Stewart, go ahead.
Just listening on this end.
All right, on. Thank you. Mr. Nero, if you have a question for Ms. Stewart, your line is open. Mr. Nero, did you have a
get back to me, Gus? Because unfortunately I'm on the speakerphone.
Oh, okay, no problem. I'll get back to you. I'll get some other callers. Other people called in, and I'll come back to you in a minute or so. Different person called in with a block number. Different person with a block number. If you have a question for Ms. Stewart, your line is open.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, thanks, Gus. Ms. Stewart, I remember when the Matrix came out, there was a lot of excitement and about the sequels. And then when the sequels came out, there was a lot of disappointment. Could you talk about what was if you want, the architect and the Merovingian, and why do you think people were so disappointed in the sequels to the Matrix?
Well, because they were trying to make it their own. The Merovingian and the architect, the architect is like the false god, almost like what they talk about when they speak about the Bible and they say the earth where we live, the devil was cast down and he created his own world because he thought he could create a better world than God. That's what the architect is in that movie. And the Merovingian is what is talked about is Cain's lineage. And if you go into the Bible and you see that Adam and Eve had these two kids, Abel and Cain was jealous of Abel and he killed him. And of course, Cain was supposed to have been the devil's son that had impregnated Eve. And Abel came from the other lineage, from the Adam, from Adam. And of course, Cain had a mark upon him, and no one could touch him. Well, the Mormons in Utah claimed that that mark was the black mark, but I say that it was a leprosy mark, that it was a mutated mark that he had upon him. And that's what, when you look at 2 and 3, it's all talking about that. And that's why it was clashing, because it was going in the other direction. It wasn't talking about the lineage that the Christ came from, but it was starting to talk about the lineage that Cain come from. But you can see all of that in when you look at Star Wars, because Lucas is talking about the point of view of Satan or the devil or Darth Vader falling from the light side to the dark. And he did it up in science fiction film, and Star Wars is just the wars in heaven, and that's what that whole thing is about. And that's why a lot of fans are saying that the Matrix is like Star Wars, but it's not. It's like polarity. It's like two different lineage and two different sides, but it's like polarity. You know what I'm talking about? It's just giving a point of view of one set of side of the story as opposed to the other side of the story. And that's why it failed, because it was just taking the two concepts and splitting it, because if you look at the first Matrix, the concept is we have no end. It's just the beginning, that everything is recycled, reborn, transformation. And then if you look at the other two, they're saying everything has a beginning, has an end, meaning it's just death and there is no resurrection, there is no transformation, there is nothing else to look forward to, which is very bleak because it doesn't offer you any hope and it doesn't offer you any salvation. So that's why the other two failed, because they're not of the same mind. It's like a divided house. If you divide a house, it's going to crash. It's not the whole house, and it's not one. It's not on the one, or it's not the oneness of mind. Does that make sense to you? Now that I've explained it.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know the architect. Yeah, I didn't know Cain, and it just seemed very convoluted, and it just didn't seem to make sense. The sequel, so. Yeah, that did give me some clarity.
Yeah, well, because it's going in another direction. Look at the concept. If you look at the first Matrix, go back and rent them or, and look at them again. The first Matrix concept, which I wrote, is there is no end. It's just the beginning, meaning there is resurrection, meaning there is salvation, meaning that you will stand into your four-dimensional body. And if you look at the other two, it's talking about just death. It's saying everything has a beginning, has an end, and there is no beginning again. And it's convoluted, like you said, and it's not telling you anything. It's really trying to put you back to sleep. The first Matrix woke you up. The other two Matrix is really trying to put some people back to sleep. A lot of fans said it was just like you buying a ticket and telling somebody to kick you in the stomach. That's how one fan described it. And as you see, it started to crash. It started to fall apart. Now, if you ask yourself, what author is going to divide his own house? What author is going to divide his own concept? What author is going to write one thing and then start writing the opposite? That's it. You can look at it and see it's two different DNA, two different things. Because a writer, whatever writers write about come out of their souls. It comes from them. And then you look at that right there. That's all convoluted. That's all just a mess, a lot of mess. And then they have to go back in my book and start using some more of the work. That's why I tell people, buy the book and read it for yourself. Don't listen to lies. Look at stuff for yourself. Buy the book, look at the movies, look at the book. Pull up their stuff and it doesn't match. Doesn't match at all because they didn't write it. It's just like Millions Vanilla didn't sing it. Maybe that'll make people understand something.
Wow. I wanted to ask and give Mr. Nero a couple minutes, and then I'll get his question. Could you share with our listeners, the Wachowski brothers, I don't even know if that's an accurate label anymore, in addition to the new film that they're working on about the homosexual relationship in the Iraq War, could you share the bit of information that you shared with me yesterday about, I guess it's Larry Wachowski is no longer Larry. He is, I think it's Lena at this point.
You're asking me
Yes,
to
ma'am.
share with people about them?
Yes, ma'am.
About the Larry sexual change? Because
Yes,
I think a lot of people already know about it. It's been out for a long time that Larry Lawrence Wachowski or Larry Wachowski had gone and done a sex change, and now his name is Lena Wachowski, and that he was messing around with the dominatrix and stuff and doing other weird things on his wife. And I don't even think that Larry Wachowski or Lena or whatever his name is, and Andy Wachowski is even understanding who God is, who understand the Matrix or any of the concept. They've never been on any mainstream talk shows explaining they wrote the Matrix or talking about the Matrix. They are no longer even calling themselves the writers of the Matrix. They are calling themselves the directors or creators or whatever, but they're not calling themselves the writers anymore. At one time, they were trying to say they were the writers, and they knew they were going to get into trouble about that. That was all going to come to light, because a lot of people on the movie set to sign non-disclosures, and they themselves have signed contracts with Warner Brothers to never, ever be interviewed or talk about the Matrix. And it's just sad that they chose to put their names on a lie and cannot do anything with the work. And it's so pathetic because you can look at what they've done to Alan Moore's work, V for Vendetta. He didn't even want his name on his own work. And the Japanese writer, Speed Racer, they just crashed that man's work. And everything that they touch is really terrible. And they did not do the first Matrix. Thea Bloom, which was married to Larry or Lawrence or Lena Wachowski, even told in the state court when she was getting a divorce from him that he and Andy Wachowski's never wrote the Matrix. That's right, she gave statements. They never wrote it. Because the judge wanted to divide up the property of the Matrix and the other community properties, and they couldn't divide it up because they couldn't even prove that they wrote the Matrix. They wrote 2 declarations in court. One declaration, the brothers lied and said they wrote the Matrix before 1993. And they turned around and null and void that one and told the judge they had lied, that they really wrote it before 93, but they would have to go to Chicago and find some proof. But if the judge had asked them to put up that 94 copyright, it would prove that they never wrote the Matrix, because the 94 copyright, they only have one sheet of paper, no source work, which is a title Matrix on it, and that's it. And Warner Brothers in the book has a letter where they admit that the Wachowskis never had any source work, and you can't get a blockbuster or some other work from no source. They never created any characters. They never wrote anything. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. It hurts some people's feelings, and I mean, it really hurts people who believe in a lie, because they really got to deal with something when they come to terms with Andy and Larry Wachowski, Gail Ann Hurd, and James Cameron have lied to them. It's really going to be a bad fallout for them when people come to terms with the truth. And the truth is, you can't run it away, you can't scare it away, you can't beat it away, and you can't kill it. I'm sorry. The truth is what it is, and it's going to stand, and it's just going to get greater. Now, what happens when it starts exploding all over the place, like the Ford Explorer and Firestorm story, when they had the bad tires? They bought off people for years They kept it buried for years, and it exploded. It exploded all over, and people went to jail. The truth came out. Same thing with the tobacco barons. They hid for years. They bought off judges. They bought off lawyers. They kept that going on for years and years, and then it exploded on everything. You know what I'm saying? And then after that was the end. You know?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I want to check back with Mr. Nero, make sure I don't miss him, because he said to give him a few minutes. Mr. Nero, if you're situated, if you want a question for Mr. Small or Ms. Stewart, your line is open.
Thank you. Greetings, Gus and Justice. Ms. Stewart, thank you very much, ma'am, for coming on the show. I have not read your book, but I will have to add that to my list of to-dos. Curious, because I'm working right now, I've missed bits and pieces of the show. I'll have to download the archive. But I heard references to the Bible as well as to Jesus Christ, and I'm just wondering if do you believe that Jesus Christ was a real person?
What I believe in is the energy, that the energy is what was supposed to came. To see, the Bible is hieroglyphics. It's no such thing as a word, or they are hieroglyphics. That every alphabet, like A stands for 1, F stands for 5, and that we've always dealt in hieroglyphics, and that the hieroglyphics or the symbolism is true, and that's what's vibrating. It has nothing to do with a physical man or what a physical man has done upon the earth. It has everything to do with what the energy, when it comes upon the earth, and the energy telling you what you can do as a man. And I think that's what the whole actual Christ story was about. It's not, a lot of it is not literally. A lot of it is symbolically. And I think that it's there to tell us, here's the formula. If you use this formula, then you can overcome this problem. And I think that when you look at the Old Testament, that's our past. It's like time travel. And if you look here at the New Testament, that's our present. And then when you look at Revelation, that is what one will become. That's what we will become in the future. And this book is like a roadmap, or it's a source of answers. And it tells you that this book has been added to, and it tells you that this book has been taken away from, that stuff has been cut out of it. But it also tells you that if you go in there and you look and you seek for truth, that you would find the answer. And that it's like a guide. It's like a guide, or some kind of guidance for us. Or like a computer with numerous programs that no matter how many times we can find the answer to some of our problems, it's there. And that man don't want you to know the truth. And that this Bible is telling you some of the truth, because if God or Christ didn't exist, then there would be no need to convince. You don't convince me that Satan, that Santa Claus is not real. You don't convince me that Barbie is not real. You don't convince me that Bart Simpson is not real, or Mickey Mouse, because we already know. We already know that Mickey Mouse is not real. We know Barbie is not real. We know that Santa Claus is not real, so there's nobody trying very hard to convince us, don't believe in Santa Claus, don't believe in Barbie, don't believe in Mickey Mouse. So it's got to be something to the Christ story, something to the Bible, something to God, because look, we got a sun, and the man didn't make that sun, and we're breathing this air, and man didn't create this air, and we got fire, and didn't create that, and look at all this water. Now, these are the things to me that prove that there is a God. Because if it was left up to man, I'd be dead, because I wouldn't get that sun if I didn't have any money. So I would die. And I wouldn't be breathing this air if I didn't have any money, because man puts a price tag on everything. And when you can't pay that price, you die. Now, if there was no God, or that Bible wasn't telling the truth, then why are we still breathing and there is no charge on this air? And why are we still getting the sun and no one is regulating it and saying, okay, You can have the sun for $24 or $25 or $100 today, but you can't have it tomorrow unless you got $1 million. So something real has to be in that Bible, because they're trying too hard to convince you to not read it. And they're trying too hard to convince you there is no God. And that right there tells me that there's more to it. So when I wrote the story, as you can see, it had to be something to that story, because it made billions of dollars, and it touched people around the entire globe, and it shifted their consciousness, and they love it. And you ask yourself this question: what book on the earth has done that? And it goes across every language, color, and creed, and nationality. There's only one book that has reached the globe around the entire world, and that's the Bible. And there's got to be some truth, because everyone has been affected by it. And this second coming story that I wrote is global. And people are still dying to know more, and they love it. Now, I just don't think the one thing that's really bad is for people to be convinced that Satan wrote something good. That the devil, and that's what the Wachowskis and Gail Ann Hurd and James Cameron, because they're a liar. And that's what the Bible clearly tells us what Satan or the adversary is. He's a liar. That's what it clearly gives you a definition of who Satan is, or the evil, or the devil, is a liar. And he creates illusions so you can perpetrate and continue the lie. That's what it's saying. Am I right or wrong? Have you looked in there and you saw that? And it doesn't matter what a man believes in. It all matters is what a man seeks in this world, and what work he leaves upon the earth, and what name he leaves. Did you stand up for truth? Did you stand up for something today? Because that's all that matters in the end. Who remembers your name? Who remembers what work you did upon the earth? That matters more than anything. Did you seek after truth, or did you just accept the lie and follow it after others? That's my answer right there. And what I wrote, it changed the world, and it helped a lot of people. It brought joy. It brought truth. It made some people change their minds. It made some people find themselves. Some people loved it and didn't know what it was. Some people still seek after it. And look at how many years it's been laying dominant with these liars. When I can continue with Matrix 4, the work has been sitting there. No artists want their work to sit there for 7 years. The last Matrix, 2003. It's 2010. That's 7 years. And look at Terminator. Terminator 4 went into bankruptcy court. It crashed so bad, the audience, it was empty. If a work is healing, then it's bringing forth something good. And if it's depressing, then it needs to go away. But it's work that's loved, and it should continue, and it should be continued by the true author. And if the story is about Christ, and Christ is not real, then something is real. Am I right or wrong? Because you saw the movie. What did you think was real in it?
We had one other person that called in. I wanted to make sure I got their question as well. And again, remind folks, please check the website, truthaboutmatrix.com. Again, it's linked right in the description. All you have to do is click Sophia Stewart's name, and it'll take you right to her webpage so you can get a copy of The Third Eye, truthaboutmatrix.com. Cree, if you're there and you have a question for Sophia Stewart or Mr. Small, your mic should be open.
Oh, wow, Mr. Smalls. I'm just catching the tail end, so if this is repetitive, please just tell me so and don't waste any more time considering my question. But greetings, Gus. Greetings, Justice. Greetings, Mr. Smalls, Eduardo Smalls, and greetings, Ms. Stewart. Thank you so much for both of you for joining. If this has already been covered, again, like I said, ignore it. What significance did you think there was to the fact that the stealers of your works went ahead and chose to portray the Oracle in both the first and second and third as black females?
Yeah.
I thought you was okay. What did you ask? That's the question I thought you were asking Ed.
Yeah,
what is the question? I can answer it. What is the question?
That's a good question for you.
Yeah, but I didn't hear the question because I was thinking you said.
Okay.
What is the question again? Repeat it, please. I'll answer it.
I was wondering if you thought what significance, if any, you attributed to the fact that the white people who stole your work and then ran with it still chose to portray the Oracle in all the episodes as a black female.
Well, because the Oracle is black. The Oracle is me. It was based on my life as a seer. And Mr. Smalls didn't write this work. It's my work by myself. I wrote The Matrix and Terminator. And the Oracle comes from me, and they know that. And that's why a lot of fans, white fans, were like, oh, my God, well, the Oracle is a black woman. Why would the Wachowskis have this black Oracle? Well, the reason why there is a black Oracle, and I based her on myself because I'm a seer, just like Nostradamus and Leonardo da Vinci and Edgar Cayce, is because Matrix is Latin for womb, meaning that if the Christ did come back again on earth, he would have to come through a woman's womb. And the Oracle is the prophet. She's heralding the coming or the second coming of Christ. Now, in the Bible, the first prophet to herald that coming is a male. I thought it would be appropriate for a woman to announce the second coming of Christ, to prophesize it, because creation, all of creation comes from the female or the feminine energy. If you go into the Bible and you look at Genesis, Genesis is just an anagram for is genes. That's right. Look, Genesis is Genesis. But when you turn it around, polarity, and flip it, the word is genes. So Genesis is talking about somebody being born. And let's go inside of Genesis and see who's born. God says his children, which are called the sons of God, already have multiplied the earth, and they're all over the earth. And they're co-creators because they came through the womb and they received a soul from him. They were born of a woman coming through the womb, and they received the soul. Now let's go on to the second creation. It is talking about Adam and Eve. Well, Adam and Eve are the children of men, what you call the children of men. And the children of men are clones, because Eve is pulled from the rib of Adam, not the Adama, but the atom, the atom. When you split the atom, that is what cloning is about. That's the process of cloning. If you take this one atom and you split it, to the right you create life because it will multiply in the petri dishes, in the test tubes, or you take it in artificial inseminate someone. That is what you call cloning. Now, if I split it to the left, the same atom, I'm going to create death. This is polarity, life and death, polarity. Because when I split it to the left, I'm going to create the atomic bomb or the nuclear bomb. Yeah, you never look at this like this, but it's the same atom. It's not no two atoms. The one atom is creates death and another atom creates life. No, it's splitting the atom a certain way that creates life, and then it creates death. And then when you create these clones, these are children of men because they were created by men, but they are born soulless because they did not come through the womb and they did not receive a soul. Now let's go on, and we see that in the Bible it says a third of the angels fell with Satan to earth. These are supernatural beings that we would call alien. Alien is not Earth, not human, DNA. And when the angels got here, they said, let's create our children. Let's create man in our image, or mankind, or a kind of man, but not a human being. And what they call their children? They were the children of the gods. And who were these children of the gods? They were the giants that the Bible is speaking about. Hercules, Medusa, Pegasus, the Cyclops. Do you remember all these supernatural beings where they said the angels saw the beauty of the human, the females upon the earth, and they start mixing the DNA with the supernatural DNA, and then you start getting these drones. What do you call drones? Hybrids. What is hybrids? Let's take a horse and a ducky and we'll get a mule. Let's take an orange and a tangerine and get a tangelo. And what is man doing? He's creating all these hybrids, foods, and hybrid animals and hybrids. Because this is what you call mythology. Now, go in the Bible in Genesis and you see all of this that I'm speaking about. But no one has ever explained it for you to understand it the way I found for you. Now, do you understand now why the oracle, and why is she a black woman? Because, look, before the earth, everything was black. And then white was mutated out of black. Now, go into your history book and we'll look at genocide and we'll see that the white supremacy Klansman is trying to kill all of the black and young males. And they're trying to keep them from mixing with the whites. Why? Because the black is going to eat up the white. Everything is going to go back to black. That's right.
Yes, ma'am. I'll tell you, when I first saw the Matrix, and before she turned around, before I even knew that you were the originator of it, but before she ever turned around, I knew when she turned around that she was going to be a black female. And I felt, after I found out that, in fact, you had written the work, that this was really white supremacist clowning to a certain extent, hiding in plain sight, and knowing that making the oracle a black female would add authenticity that would ring true, ring resonant in the gut of anybody who watched it. That if they didn't portray her as a black female, it would not have the authenticity that grabbed us so much. So I was just wondering if
exactly, because it wouldn't be the truth, because like it says, in the beginning it was black, and everything goes back to the way it came from. Everything goes back to the beginning. And white is mutated. Like if you look at white sugar and you look at white rice, and if you look at anything, it's bleached. It's devoid of nutrients. If you take sugar cane, you take the sugar cane is dark. And then you refine it and you make it white. Now it's devoid of its nutrients. Same with the rice. The rice is brown, but if you make it white, it's bleached. It's devoid of its nutrients. It's devoid of substance. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Thank you so much. I learned even more by listening to your response to my question. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was, excuse me, counter-racist evolving engineer, Cree. She has a program right here at Blog Talk Radio, and she'll be airing this Friday. I guess before we get ready to wrap things up, get a final word from both Mr. Small and Ms. Stewart. Again, the website, truthaboutmatrix.com. Please support. Check it out. You can get the ebook, $24.99. You can get it right now, truthaboutmatrix.com. I guess I'll start with Mr. Small. If you have a final word you'd like to share. I added a link in the comment section for this program to the YouTube page where your documentary is, so folks can check that out. Just the link is right in the comment section. You can copy and paste it and go check out Mr. Small's fantastic work, and I think it'll educate you more about what happened with Ms. Stewart's case. But Mr. Small, if you have a final word or two.
Yes, sir. I'd like to say that also in light of what you just said, there's also a CD interview on Truth About Matrix as well. That is the CD interview I did with counteraction.com back in 2004. And it does go back in depth into the matrix behind the third eye, which Ms. Stewart talked about today. And it also gets a little bit more heavy into the details about the case. Now, just from a whole counter-racism point of view, if you will, one of the most interesting parts of what Ms. Stewart has done is the process by which the logic she followed to defend herself. And a lot of that is talked about in the second half of the audio interview. It's $19.99. It's also on the site, and it gives a great roadmap for, Fuller always talks about the 5th and 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Well, this is a great case to look at and study and learn about and know how you make that logic work for you when you're applying it to people who are basically trying to steal things from you. I mean, there's a logic to follow, as we all know, but it's about knowing what logic that is. I mean, if you have to, use the logic to change, a sink drain, you can't use the logic of brakes. You have to find the appropriate one. And, she has that, and the interview details a lot of this information. And it's on the site, $19.99, and it's a great investment, and it makes for a great pair with the book.
Yeah, and be sure to see that 1 minute and 45-second documentary that Mr. Small did. It is fabulous, and they record documents and so forth on the website, and you can get the book and you can see for yourself the truth. You don't need anybody to validate truth, and you can find it out for yourself, and it's better that way to seek truth for yourself. That's what I'm telling people. You don't got to believe me. Just go and seek it for yourself. See for yourself. That's number one. Don't accept the lie. Don't accept what Hollywood or their media try to perpetrate, or there are people that blog for them and lawyers that lie to judges. That's very important.
Again, truthaboutmatrix.com, the website. You can get your copy of The Third Eye. Real treat to, I got a surprise even, to have Mr. Ed Small and Ms. Sophia Stewart, mother of the Matrix. Please support the website. Please support Mr. Small's documentary. It's in the comment section. Copy and pasted it. All you got to do is check it out. Very informative, and it's in 3 parts. Watch the whole documentary. It's in 3 parts right on YouTube. Thank the both of you so much for sharing some of your time with us this evening. I wish you the best in your continued legal pursuit to recoup everything that you are owed from your work, and definitely look forward to having both of you back to share views. And, I hope to continue to see both of you succeed.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. We're glad to be here. We'll come back.
Yeah, it was great, Gus.
Yeah, very much. I'd like to come back.
Right on. We will see if we can put that together then, to have Ms. Stewart and Mr. Small back on the program as soon as possible. Thank you both. I will be in touch soon and continue the effort to, as I said, recoup everything that you are owed for all of the hard work that you've done and the work that you've created.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Bye.
Yes, indeed. We're going to take a quick commercial, and again, I guess I'll let you guys know the programs for tomorrow. Quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to wrap things up.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? At counteracism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by counteracism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
Context of white supremacy, Gus T Renegade, and Justice. Justice not here today. I'll do the email address for her, justice.asap@yahoo.com. Again, justice.asap@yahoo.com. Hope the program was constructive. Appreciate Mr. Small and Ms. Stewart taking time out of their busy schedule. She does a ton of interviews. Appreciate her taking time out of her schedule to speak with us. And website again, truthaboutmatrix.com. As I said, Cree, counter-racist evolving engineer. She will be broadcasting on Friday. She will have Michelle Alexander. Michelle Alexander, I believe she is a black female. I could be incorrect. She authored a book that is all about the sad state of the so-called prison industrial complex. Lots of black males in greater confinement. That will be on Cree's program this Friday, May 21st, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. 3 p.m. Pacific, counter-racist, evolving engineer with Michelle Alexander right here at Blog Talk Radio. Make sure you support her blog as well, cree7.wordpress.com. Again, cree7.wordpress.com. Also, please support Back of the Bus's blog as well, Non-White Alliance. .wordpress.com. Again, nonwhitealliance.wordpress.com. Please support his effort as well. I think they have constructive information about racism, white supremacy. As I said also, we have a full slate this week on the cows. We will be back tomorrow. Henry Macow, I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Make sure I have it on point for the program tomorrow, but he is a white man. I got his attention. Believe one of the listeners was posting some of the articles that he has authored, Mr. Macow I'm talking about, that he's authored that talk about how the so-called feminist movement, how that is being used to further a system of oppression. Now, he does not name the system of white supremacy, but I thought it was relevant information and very interesting. I checked out some of the stuff on his website, which is linked in the description for tomorrow's broadcast. In addition to talking about how sexism is a tool of manipulation and deception, he also talks a lot about how rulers, he doesn't use the term white supremacy, but rulers, leaders, elite, he uses terms like that, have this massive pedophilia thing. And I just found that very interesting. The pictures that he showed, people that are involved in this, they all look like white people to me. Now, I could be incorrect. I didn't get to ask, but they look like white people. So we're going to try and spend time talking about both of those tomorrow, his work investigating all of these different cases of pedophilia. I think that's come up enough on this program that people who've been listening consistently, they should have some recollection of what this has to do with racism, white supremacy. If you have not been listening, you can check out the program with the Irritated Genie. He was here April Fool's Day, April 1st. You can check that broadcast out. Dr. Mawalimu K. Baruti, he was here the first time he was here when we spoke about the effeminization, homosexuality and the effeminization of African males. That was in February. So that should get you going as to why this is significant, the pedophilia aspect of what we're going to talk about tomorrow. But that'll be Henry Macow, 8 p.m. tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. Henry Macow. Thursday, Senator Kevin Parker, he will be here. New York Senator talked very openly about racism, white supremacy. He'll be here on Thursday. Saturday, Anthony Pryor, scheduled to be here. Anthony Pryor, man. I've been reading his book. Very interesting book. He speaks very candidly about racism, white supremacy. I think he's accurate, but very candid. This guy played in the NFL. He played for the Minnesota Vikings. He played for the New York Jets. And he seems pretty informed about racism, white supremacy. He's authored several books. Slave Side of Sunday is one of the books that he authored. In addition to that, he sent me the new book that he's, I guess, got coming out supposed to be out. I think he said sometime this year, like very soon. He's supposed to be sending me an excerpt. But the new book, Black Horses, White Cotton, and Religion. He said he was willing to talk about the new book as well when he comes on the show this weekend. But, man, I'm very much looking forward to that broadcast. We'll be back on Sunday as well. Like I said, lots of shows. Cal is working very hard this May. Counter-racist grind. Told you guys, counter-racist grind. Tim Wise is on a tough. Non-white team has to be too. Last thing I wanted to point out before we wrap the program up. Yesterday, I was talking about, I played the sound clip of Mr. Fuller, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. He was talking about why he wrote in his code book that white people are the most attractive people. And he said that he did that on purpose. He chose the word attractive purposely so that non-white people, black people, would begin to pay more attention to words. And I think you heard Mr. Small, that was, one of his final comments talking about the importance of words. And he said, Mr. Fuller, he said that he wanted people that read his book, black people that read his work, to stop and think, well, what does he mean when he says attractive? What is he talking about? Is he talking about, just, being cute to look at? Is that what he means? Or is he talking about something else? And it's been my observation that non-white people, myself included, you put Gus T Renegade's name at the top of the list, we have a lot of deficiencies with regards to communication and language. I have concluded this is a principal aspect of our victimization, and this is a big reason why we are still struggling to solve this problem. I think all of the people who have come here and who have talked about having some meager level of success in terms of dealing with white people who are most likely practicing white supremacy, whether it's dark matter, whether it's Sophia Stewart today, it's been about words and the use of words. I just don't think that non-white people who read Mr. Fuller's book or any other books on racism and white supremacy, I just think that we are not paying enough attention to the words, not really looking at definitions. I think that's a big problem. I try to compensate for that on this program by constantly highlighting definitions. Words are important. I probably don't do it enough. And trying to request that our guests speak in a manner that is simple and easy to comprehend. That's my effort to compensate for our deficiencies in language and communication, and I should probably be doing more of that. But I made this comment yesterday, and someone made a comment almost immediately. I didn't even realize that they were listening to the show yesterday, and they made this comment pretty quickly. I won't read the person's name. If you want, to get, your 15 seconds of fame or whatever, let me know, and I'll say your name on the program. Other than that, I try to let people remain anonymous if they would like. But the person said, okay, Gus, you very nicely talked about how non-whites, blacks, have apparently not read, understood Neely Fuller Jr. or Dr. Welsing's books. You are too kind. These blacks just don't and can't read. Plain and simple. Somebody has got to tell them that they need to learn how to read and how to talk. Most, and he has this in quotes, most educated blacks, even with PhDs, except in math and sciences, are woefully lacking in comprehension and speaking skills. Low vocabulary, can't write, not computer literate, no math skills. Arrogant, won't accept, they don't know. Mr. Fuller holds a mirror up to them, and they get ashamed because he makes it plain, and they have been educated but without analytical skills. That was what the person wrote in yesterday. I wouldn't say I disagree. I would not say I disagree. I definitely wrote down notes when I thought about sharing on the program about our deficiencies in reading, I definitely did not want to make it sound like I was beating up on black people, because I'm not. And I'm putting myself at the top of the list, as I said, my own deficiencies in speaking, communication, reading, language, the whole nine, and I display my deficiencies all the time on this broadcast, so I'm not excluding myself from the group. But I do think, and I've worked in the school system, so I've seen us. I do think we have, just major deficiencies in these areas. And just in terms of reading, as I said on the program yesterday, I've bumped into a lot of non-white people who are familiar with Dr. Welsing. They are familiar with Mr. Fuller, but they have not read these people's books. And even a significant number of non-white people who have read Mr. Fuller's work or Dr. Welsing's work or any other non-white person who writes about racism and white supremacy, I think often we do not get the full point. When you read books, there are a lot of techniques. There are a lot of ways you can refine your skill with regard to reading and comprehension. When you sometimes they have reading tests where they evaluate your comprehension, your ability to extract information from what you read. I suspect that black people probably test very, very low on reading comprehension tests, myself included. And I think some of the reasons, just in terms of reading, very important when you read, pay attention to footnotes. I have carved whole programs out of just reading the footnotes when you read a book. And the footnotes are just, when you're reading a textbook, I suspect Dr. Welsing has them in her book. If not, when you start reading some of these other people's books, you'll see footnotes. And it's just small text at the bottom where they are referencing someone else's work. If they've quoted someone, just referencing whatever work that they're talking about that's not their own. As I said, I've got whole programs out of that. Just reading the footnotes. You can get a ton of information. I know back at the bus when John Potash came on this program and he wrote about Tupac Shakur, that book was great, very informative. But one of the things that I told back at the bus, he had about, I'll say at least a solid 50 pages, and I suspect it was more just because I don't have the book in front of me right now. But he had at least 50 pages of footnotes, just other material that he's read. That is mammoth. I don't know how many people out there read books on a regular basis, but to have 50 pages of just footnotes, what other books you read in researching to construct your book, that is a ton of related information. Often those footnotes have other books that are about the exact same topic or at least relevant to whatever it is that you're reading. And I guarantee if you're reading books on racism, white supremacy, if you read the footnotes, you will get a lot of information. If it's other books, sometimes it could be magazine articles, newspaper clippings, anything, just relevant information, and it will give you greater understanding of what it is you're reading. That would be one thing. Words. That's why I emphasize that on the program all the time. Getting definitions for terms so you know what somebody means. If they, might have a different definition, definitions. If you're reading a book and you hit a word and you don't understand it, I know it's easy to be lazy. Been there. Like I said, Gus, top of the list. I'm right there. But you really, if you want to understand what you read, you want to make sure that you are not just skipping over words that you don't recognize. Stop and look up the term. It will greatly aid your ability to understand what it is you read. I know everybody have a tendency to be lazy. You get mistreated. System of white supremacy. You don't feel like, stopping, taking 5 minutes to go find a dictionary, or if you're, going to use your computer dictionary to type it in and all that stuff. It is worth it. Think of it as an investment in the book you're reading. The book that you're reading, it should be enough value. You should be getting enough that it should not be a problem. In fact, it should be something that you're eager to do, to go get a dictionary or anything that will aid you in understanding what it is you're reading. So look those words up. It will aid your understanding of the book, and you'll get more of a value from reading the book. Let's see. I take notes when I read. I'm just giving you some tips. They might be helpful. I know some people might be listening to this and saying, I can read. I got 20 degrees, blah, blah, blah. I have concluded that if it's non-white people listening to this program, I suspect there are a lot of people who have deficiencies in these areas. So if this does not apply to you, feel free to go ahead and stop the program now, because this is going to be the last thing I do before we end. But hopefully for some people this will be of value. As I just said, I take notes when I read. Generally, I'm not reading just, fun books. I don't have books that, this is just something that, everybody's reading. Harry Potter, I don't have those type of books. The books that I'm reading, I'm trying to get useful information. So I take notes. I try to have a pad close by so that it's easy, so that it's not, it doesn't take a lot of time. I don't have to run around the house or anything. I generally have it right there. I try to have a notepad that is small enough that I can insert it into the book that I'm reading sometimes if I'm really on my A+ game. But just try to have that notepad there. That way I can jot down if it's terms that I don't understand. I can jot those down. If it's an important phrase, an important metaphor, if it's a footnote, just any information that I want to kind of remember, bang, I jot it down. And it doesn't take a long time. If it's my book, I'll just write in the book. But, you can lose that sometimes. So I try to have a notepad just to kind of keep those notes there and highlight. That's another useful tool. You see that. White people are known for that, highlighting the books. People that go to college have their highlighters and stuff. That's important. So you can recall important information. Your mind, unless you have a photographic memory, most people I know do not. You don't remember everything. So there'll be some important details that, will strike you, but then after you've read another 50 pages, you'll forget. Or you won't remember the page it's on, and I know a lot of people are not going to be pursued to flip through and find the exact page. So try to have something there to keep notes as you're reading. Paying attention to the author. This is big. This is the same thing that I say with films. I believe Irritated Genie, when he comes back, I think it's 2 weekends from now, he's going to be talking about this with films, but this is applicable to any work. Look at other things that author has written. Very important. Same thing with films. Look at other films that actor or that director has been in. Sophia Stewart demonstrated that. She's studied what other works has James Cameron done. Is there a pattern of this theft of material? Oh, it seems like it could be. Same thing with authors. If you're going to read a book, check out other material that this person has written if you're really going to study somebody. I do this with Frantz Fanon all the time. People talk about Wretched of the Earth. Frantz Fanon, he's a black male. People talk about Wretched of the Earth, which is him writing about racism, white supremacy. The same person who in Wretched of the Earth, this black person who talked about how violence can be used to counter racism, white supremacy, he also wrote a book, Black Skin, White Mask, that talks about sexual intercourse with white people. And he married a white person. Having more information about the author, much different understanding. Like I'll tell you, just me being informed that Frantz Fanon married a white person, it was totally different reading his book the second time through, knowing that he married a white person. It was like a totally different read, totally different book. It changed everything. And subsequently, everything else that I read that he authored, totally different book from that point on. So try to get additional information about the author if you can. Finish the book. Simple stuff. Finish the book. I know tons of time. Again, it's hard. You're on the plantation. And I guess let me back up. I know a lot of people do not have a constructive relationship to learning, education, books, school, because of racism, white supremacy. The system of white supremacy, it saturates everything, and it definitely, the school system and the system of white supremacy is designed to support white supremacy. So a lot of us, we went through, I've heard Dr. Kamal Kambone talk about how those white, he specifically points out white female teachers, how they do so much damage in emasculating black males and just, really hampering our interest in learning. I think Dr. Baruti calls that diseducation when he was on the program. So I know a lot of us, we didn't have a good time at school. Learning is not something that we have, good feelings associated with. I understand. And in that boat myself. And I'm in that boat myself. Took a long time before I got an interest in reading. I think I was almost at college graduation before I got interested in reading on my own, like where I would go out and find books to read in my spare time. I would never do that. I was almost a college graduate before I got to that level, which is way late, particularly in comparison to white people and especially more refined white people. They have their kids reading you will see those kids with those Harry Potter books or whatever. What is it, Diary of a Wimpy Kid? I think that's the new one. You will see them reading. I was very late, and it's because I wasn't exposed to the ISIS papers, Neely Fuller Jr., Carter G. Woodson, whatever else you want to talk about, Dr. Amos Wilson. I didn't know about any of these authors until, much later in life. So I understand that. But it is important, and there is a lot of useful information out there that you can read. Even if you don't want to read something about racism, white supremacy, there are tons of other books that will help you solve problems. I recommend non-white people read How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've already said repeatedly, I'm not a nice guy. However, I use that book because I'm not a nice guy. So I know how not to be as rude and surly as I normally am. I at least picked up some tips for how to relate to people in a constructive manner so that you can get things done. I mean, a key part of the title of that book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. So there are tons of books that you can read that will be very helpful, even if you don't want to read about racism specifically. But finish the book. Finish the book. I know tons of people. They will read 30 pages of Dr. Welsing's book or 60 pages of Mr. Fuller's book and call it a day. And that, I mean, I don't know. I think for most people, if it's a television program or a movie, you don't go to the movies and sit down and watch 20 minutes of the film and then get up and leave. You watch the whole movie. Same thing with the book. Read the whole book. You really do yourself a disservice when you don't read the full book. And I think particularly books on racism, white supremacy, you really got to read the whole thing to really grasp what it is the author is trying to say, what point they're trying to make about racism, white supremacy, what is their conclusion. I mean, it's imperative. Read the whole book. I mean, I've just seen too many examples of where people, they read like a paragraph or so of Mr. Fuller's work, and they're off and running as though they know the whole thing. And it's just, particularly with concepts that he talks about in his work about it's now maximum emergency compensatory action, MECA. I think in the book it's maximum emergency compensatory justice, or I forget, McJ, that's it, McJ, that's what it is. Maximum emergency compensatory justice, I think that's it. It's now MECA. At any rate, a lot of confusion, a lot of conflict around that. People have disagreements, but I know that a lot of people have not read the entire part of that section of the book. That, I think, covers at least 30 pages. It's long. It's not one page. It's not a paragraph. It's quite a bit. It's a full chapter to itself. Read the whole book. That will, just that right there. If you don't do anything else that I mentioned, the footnotes, nothing else, if you can at least say, well, I did read the whole book, bang, that would be great. That would be great. That would be a big improvement, and then you can slowly try and incorporate others. In fact, I guess that'll be my last one on reading. Try to just incorporate one of those. You don't have to do all of that at once, but if you can just do one, say, I'm going to read this book as long as I'm reading. If I hit a word that I don't understand, I'm going to stop and look it up. Or if I'm not going to do that, I'm at least going to pay attention to the footnotes. That's quick. That's something you can just look down, read the footnote. Okay, next. Or if I don't do anything else, I'm at least going to read the entire book. I'm not just going to read 30 pages and throw it down and, talk about it like I read it. I'm going to read the whole book. Just try to do at least one of those things. So, yeah, that would be my commentary on reading. If the problem is as simple as you don't know which books to read, I hope this program has benefited. You can just look at the authors and books that we've talked about on this program. And I guess I hope this program illustrates the importance of really closely scrutinizing what you read, because I think there have been a lot of times where authors, particularly white authors, have come on this program and contradicted what they wrote in their own book. The example I'm thinking of just off top, and it's happened several times, but the example I'm thinking of off top is when Dr. Peggy McIntosh was here in August of 2009, and she came on the program, no, I don't agree with your definition of white supremacy, and I'm not going to use that term. I'm going to say white privilege. In her own report, she said, one of the things white people can do to work against racism, be more willing to use the term white supremacy. That's the most, she said, if you listen to the program, I just kept saying that over and over again, because it's just like, I cannot believe that you wrote this, and then you're going to come on the program, and I don't agree with your definition. I'm not going to volunteer a different definition, and I'm not going to use the term. That's the type of thing. Read critically. If you pay attention to words, you will really be able to catch white people or anyone who is attempting to be deceptive, just being more attentive to words. Apply that in speech. Apply that when you're communicating verbally, and when it's the written word. Be very critical, very attentive to the words that are being used. So, I hope that adds more emphasis to my comment yesterday about reading. Person who was listening in and shared that on the blog, thank you for listening. Yes, we do have a lot of problems reading, and I hope this program is of some value in that area, because I suspect that a lot of people just don't have time to go and dig out all these books about racism, or don't even know about these. But I don't know about all these. But when I started the program, I did not know about most of these books. People have recommended them, or I got them reading other books. So I hope that's at least been one value that for people who wouldn't have the time to go through and read all these books or to find all these books, at least you can listen in and get a solid sense of what the book talks about and important information in the book relative to racism, white supremacy. That will wrap us for today. As I said, we'll be back tomorrow and Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, every day this week except for Friday. I hope the program was constructive. Please check the blog, racism-notes.blogspot.com. Again, racism-notes.blogspot.com. We will be back tomorrow, Henry Macau, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for tuning in. And again, thanks to Sophia Stewart and Ed Small for participating and sharing great information. I hope you all found it of some constructive value. Replace white supremacy with justice as soon as possible. Thanks so much. And that will be the Cows signing out.